Uh, Perfect. Welcome to Worker Co-ops. Own your digital marketing, build your client base. If you could advance the slide, Tom. This workshop is brought to you by the U.S. Federation of Worker Cooperatives. We're the only national grassroots membership organization for worker co-ops in the United States. Our mission is to build a thriving cooperative movement of stable, empowering jobs through worker ownership. We advance worker-owned, worker-managed, and worker-governed workplaces through cooperative education, advocacy, and development. On the next slide, please. My name is Maureen. I work in the Co-op Clinic. I'm based in Ogapogue, Santa Fe, New Mexico. And the Co-op Clinic is your resource for technical assistance and training through our network of peer advisors. If you are a member of the Federation, you receive regular support from us and reduced rates for technical assistance and training with our peer advisor network. And we have regular technical assistance workshops and resources many of them are free to members or reduced costs, like attending our conference. I wanted to thank our sponsor, who's also the presenter of today's webinar, DotCoop. We have been able to put on so much bilingual programming and count on webinars every single year to be funded and supported through DotCoop, whose mission is to unite and empower cooperatives online. This goal drives everything they do. Since 2001, they've united the co-op community through a shared online identity and a platform where co-op organizations can participate, inform each other, educate each other, and pioneer a path forward for others to join and support this movement. So you'll learn a lot more about DotCoop today. We'll also share their website, but if you're like me and already curious, you can visit www.identity.coop. And now I will pass the mic to a representative from DotCoop and my thought partner in a lot of how to help co-ops build their marketing on a spectrum of budgets and really lean into what it means to be a co-op and how that could potentially attract new clients and support your business relationships and inter-cooperative relationships. So I'm excited to give you the mic, Tom, and thank you for gathering such a great group of presenters today.
Well, thank you so much, Maureen, for a fantastic introduction. It's my distinct pleasure to be here and again to have a session for the second year. I enjoyed the last one so much last year, and I think we're going to be building on that today. So I'm thrilled to be able to continue our partnership, and I'm very excited to speak today as well about the things that we can talk about. We've got some fantastic people with us as well to talk about many different facets of digital marketing today. So a little bit about me, if you don't already know me, my name is Thomas Ivy, and I've been now with Dot Co-op for nearly 9 years, which has gone very fast. I came from outside the cooperative movement initially, but it really felt like coming home when I joined this community. And been my pleasure to go through a journey of discovery and seeing how cooperatives are shaping the world that we live in today. And it's a great antidote, I find, as well, to a lot of the doom and gloom that we find in the modern world, I feel. So a little bit on DotCooperation, as Maureen said there, we are a top-level domain registry, which is a wholesaler of domain names, and we hold the license to create new .coop and .credit union domain names through the regulator of the internet, which is ICANN. But we have grown over the last few years to be much more than that, which you will see. And we are owned 50-50 by the International Cooperative Alliance based in Brussels and the National Cooperative Business Association headquartered in the United States. And this is significant because it means that all the money earned by .coop in the provision of these .coop and .credit union namespaces goes back into the apex bodies that are working for the betterment of the cooperative movement worldwide. I think that's a really important point to make. And joining me today, we have some fantastic, some other experts in the cooperative and marketing field. So I'd like to now pass over to, oops, we've gone on a bit further, to Rob McClinton
Sorry to
from
interrupt.
Small World.
Um, just want to
Yeah,
make sure that the interpretation can catch. So if you could remember to please move
sure. I'll
really
slow down a little bit more.
like this,
I do get
slower.
so excited talking
Thank you
about
so.
cooperatives.
I'll go like
Fantastic.
this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure, sure. So yes, I'd like to pass it over to Rob now to introduce himself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rob McClinton. I am with Small World Communications. We are started off as a domain registrar. So just as Tom talked about, .coop is a top-level registry. They sell the domains to registrars, and then we sell them to the general public. So I'm one of those. Uh, that's how I came to meet the good folks at .coop, and they are the ones who introduced me to the cooperative movement over the course of a dinner or two as to talking about why I should carry the .coop name. We got to talking about all the things that's going right and wrong with capitalism and doing business. And there's this whole other world that I've been looking for, how to do business differently. Turns out it was here the whole time with legal structure around it and everything. It's quite it was quite an enlightening moment. Uh, so since that time, and it's been it's been a few years, I've immersed myself pretty deeply in the cooperative movement. I'm a big supporter. I've always been a big supporter of small businesses. I'm a huge supporter of cooperatives and getting cooperatives to be able to market themselves effectively. You have, as the former CEO of Patagonia once said, there is no um, purpose without profit. So you can't serve your community and achieve your goals if you aren't generating the resources necessary to serve the community and achieve your goals. So being coming out of the private sector for long to the non-cooperative world, the competitive capitalist world, what I've seen there really is that there are some best practices that we can all use, um, but use them responsibly. Toxicity is a choice. And so I encourage cooperatives to use best practices in the marketplace, but to do so responsibly, respectfully, and to do it in a way that is different, the cooperative way. So I'm a founding member of a couple of groups, including the Ajani Group, um, Black and Brown Cooperator Development Organizations. I'm part of the board of Zebras Unite now, and part of the team for Everything Co-op, which is the preeminent cooperative radio show based out of DC. So that's it for me. I'm really looking forward to reviewing stuff and giving ideas. I will do my best to not go too fast. I'm under caffeinated to try to keep that from happening. But ideas start flowing, and you just never know. They just start going, right? Um, uh, but I'll now pass it over to my partner in crime when it comes to helping small businesses really seize their opportunities, and that would be Pretty.
Thank you, Rob. And so great to be here and to connect with this amazing community. I've worked with Rob on just working with small businesses and helping them on their marketing, digital strategy, social media. My background is I've worked with large companies, mid-size, and I really grew up with small businesses. My parents had a small business, and I love working with small startup companies and taking some of that knowledge that these big companies that I've learned from working with big companies and being able to apply it to really small organizations because you can be nimble, you can be quick, you can take advantage of new tools and technology, but you can also, as Rob was saying, do it the right way and do it with um, the right approach that is meaningful to you, to your business, and to society as a whole. So I'd love to just share some of my insights and answer any questions that anyone has next.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Rob and Preeti. I will introduce Alex Green here. He should be on the call, but I won't put him on the spot and make him talk to everyone. So I'll just introduce him as the administrative officer and the customer support representative for the .coop registry and registrar. So if you use our services, if you go through verification and purchase a .coop domain through domains.coop, you are more than likely to be working with Alex and to be speaking with him. So he is here. He might give us a wave later on, but I'd just like to introduce him as being an asset that's available to the cooperative movement to assist them with their digital tools. So let's begin. And before we start, I'd like to headline a little bit about what we're going to discuss today, because this will be an introduction to the digital side of marketing, websites, and how to build your cooperative identity through your online activity, which will help to build your client base. And we'll explore 6 case studies discussing how the cooperatives and seeing how the cooperatives are answering the questions that the public have for them and how they're using their difference to make an impact in their own success. And this is particularly relevant when starting from a small foundation or entering a new area of operations. There is, before we begin, something I'd like to ask people to do, and is if you head to the chat and put a number in there for how many years your cooperative has been operating, just so that I can gauge from the people in the session what sort of age range of businesses are we looking at. So if you can put that in there, I'll be able to pick that up. This will be good to help us direct some of our points. In a competitive and difficult stage of the business, in those first 5 years of operation, or in a sector with very tight margins for business, then any advantage that we can grab is worth investing our resources in. And the 2 main reasons we see for business failure in the first 5 years are statistically financial management and issues with the marketing proposition. So we're going to put financial management aside because we're not dealing with that today. But the digital side of marketing is where we'll really be leaning into. By creating a digital presence online that is memorable and speaks of the cooperative difference, we can improve our chances of having a corner of the internet that is equitable, that is fair, and that is open. And I'd like that's a quote actually from your executive director, Esteban Kelly, who was highlighted this very point at the CMC Congress in Halifax in June of this year. And really, he liked to highlight how important it is to work together to build a values-driven part of the internet and to create brand advocates. So I think I might have, no, I haven't gone past a section here. Okay. Okay. No, that's fine. I think, yeah, I might have gone out of order in my slides, but that's fine. I'll actually be able to find the slide a little bit later on. Let me see. Okay. Hang on a second, I think. I might just have to just to take a second to see why a slide hasn't come up here. If I can just stop the share. Apologies, everybody. This is the first technical hitch. This is to be expected.
Tom,
Let's see.
2 of the slides are hidden. If you want
Ah,
to hide them, they'll share. And
okay.
while we have this moment, I just want to celebrate. It feels remarkable to have multiple co-ops in this space who are over 7 years old. Congratulations. This is the dream. And I'd love to hear from y'all afterwards how the heck you did it. So please schedule time with the Co-op Clinic if you need any support as an established co-op, or if you're interested in sharing your resources with some of the young guns in this movement.
That's great. No, thank you. I found, yeah, we found the solution to why those slides weren't sharing. So I'll go back to the screen share now. Thank you very much. But that's fascinating. 7 years or more. That's really, really incredible. So let's go back here. Here we go. So this is where I wanted to show. So can everybody see that? Wonderful. So as I was saying about creating a values-driven part of the internet, it's really useful in creating brand advocates. And I wanted to make this point before we go into the case studies, uh, because a Harvard study in 2015 found that those clients who were emotionally connected with a brand were twice as valuable as those who'd merely been extremely satisfied with the service. So if you think about that, twice as valuable as someone who's extremely satisfied. Cooperatives naturally create advocates through the process of membership and inviting engagement. And non-cooperatives will often spend a great deal of time and effort improving this values-driven proposition. And it's worth really keeping in mind just how powerful that's going to be when we're considering our marketing activities. So, this is the slide that you were all looking at before, and this is just to lay the foundation when we're talking about search engine optimization, which Rob will be able to help us with. This is also known as SEO for short. And SEO is essentially how likely your website will appear on sites like Google, Microsoft Bing, and other search engines whenever people are searching for the products that you sell, for the services you provide, and for information on topics on which you may have expertise or experience in. And the way SEO is affected is always changing. And we're just going to have a look in the case studies on really why it's worth investing time in this. Mainly due to the fact that as much as 80% of your web traffic will come through a search engine. But there is good news for small co-ops, and that is there's a lot you can do that isn't expensive. And Rob, I just wanted to ask if there's any points you wanted to make on SEO as a headline at this point before we go into the case studies.
Sure. SEO, there are two parts to it. One is very technical, and that's referring to how the computers at Google and Bing and the others actually see your website and see the data that's there to be able to rank it and provide it to people. So there's a technical element of how the code that makes up your website is read. And then there's so that's kind of SEO is an art and science. So the technical part is the science. The content part is also important, if not more so in some ways, and it's the art. So it's the quantity and quality, and reverse those for importance. Quality is far more important of the content that you make available to people who visit your website. That will also factor into how you show up within rankings and within AI search as well. So that part's a little bit more of a black box, but no one believes for a moment that Google is not leveraging 2 decades of SEO work for their AI engine. They absolutely are using that. So when we talk about SEO, there's going to be a technical component to it, and there's going to be a content component to it. We'll talk about both, and I'll try to be clear as to which component I'm referring to, but just understand that SEO is not an easy lift, but it's an important lift, especially if your website drives a lot of your business.
Mm-hmm. Great. No, thank you, Rob. And yes, we've got some headlines there which you may hear throughout the case studies, and we'll talk about updating content regularly, making sure your website is suitable for multi-platform use, using links to drive a community of websites and connecting with other organizations you work with, and using things such as separate pages for keywords, and how this links with your social media and your other forms of content-driven marketing. which all filter into your off-page optimization as well. So that's just some headlines there to have in the back of your mind. And before we go any further, I think now we can look at getting into the case studies. And just a quick note on these case studies. I think we do have plenty of people in the session today that belong to the organizations in question. It's welcome. Thank you so much for providing material for us to work with today. Please feel free to comment and to chip in. Comment in the chat, and we will have questions afterwards. We value your statements. We're not here to pass judgment or to rip into any of the websites we look at today at all. And this is just going to be an exploration and a run through observations of real world application and the way that people are doing these, answering these questions right now. It's interesting how the organizations in question have chosen to balance the tension that cooperatives face between their business model and promoting it and their services and their products. There's that balance that's very difficult to set, and some lean one way or the other. There's no right or wrong way to do this, just different approaches. So to broadly the same questions. And so we will now go in and have a look at those. So these are the six case studies that we'll look at. We've got Box Dog Bikes, Clean Car Wash, Worker Centre, Garrity Tools, Bioclassic Cleaning, Lansing Bike Co-op, and Rooted Carrot Cooperative. And hello to anybody that works for those organisations. So let's begin with number one, Box Dog Bikes. We're looking at them today because I believe they had asked specifically for a little bit of feedback on this website. So without further ado, let's have a quick look at their page. So unlike before when I was sharing slide decks, I'm actually going to look at the websites themselves. Can you all see this web page? Give me a thumbs up, somebody, if you can see that okay. Great. Wonderful. So here we are. This is Box Dog Bikes, a worker-owned cooperative. So here we have their website, and this is their homepage. So we start off, we have a statement that they're a worker-owned cooperative under their logo, which is fantastic. Some great imagery here, and straight ahead, we're down into the product that they sell. So they're a bike shop, amongst other things, and they sell some products. So we've got some detail here and some text on the products they sell. And if we scroll right down, then we've got a little bit of information about us and the services they provide. So this is fantastic. As a start point, it's a professional and well-built and modern website, and it's got some excellent foundations from which to build on. It also has a lot of really good content. If we click here, we can see that they have a platform, their shop, where they're selling some of their items. And really the worker cooperative here, you can see they're doing all of the right things. They've got a great business model. It's values led, and they're given to working with their community as well. If we go to the About page here, we can scroll down and we can see that they actually have some connections with the wider community. So if we're looking at some feedback on how this website could work and can really sort of pay dividends for the digital marketing, my first point would be the layout of the website. You have literally seconds to hold someone's attention when they're coming to a website for the first time. You may not be the first website that they visited in this context, or you might be the first, but someone will hit your website. You'll have a few seconds to get that message of what you do and why it's important to them. And if that message isn't delivered fast enough, they're going to hit that back button and navigate away and go back to probably the search engine or the search results where they've been before. So immediately with the detail on this website, I would say you're hitting the main web page and going straight into the detail of a product. And we've got some information here. This is the flagship product, so it's very important to prioritize that. But if someone hasn't yet chosen to use your business, if someone hasn't bought into why you over your competitors are the reason why they should choose that, then it's likely a bit early to be talking about specific product details. This is really the few seconds and moments you have to grab somebody and hold them on their page. And we'll see some really interesting examples later on of how a website can be developed to really get that message across as quickly as they can. And secondly, another point I would make would be when we're scrolling down a website such as this, with text points, text blocks that we have here, we'll also see some examples later on of how you can break text up into really large snippets with headings and titles that will summarize the text blocks in a way that allows people who would probably the first time they visit your site skim read down through the page. It will be able to enable them to download that information extremely quickly and make the decision there and then. This is an organization that is aligned with what I want to do. These are the people that I want to do business with. So some really good examples there. And thirdly, something that we'll also see from a few case studies later is really spelling out for the uninitiated what it actually means to you to be a worker cooperative and how does that work in practice. If we go to the About page here, there's some fantastic information, and I really love the graphic here of the map. It tells you right where they are. Some great information here, and if we come down, we've got a statement that states why the staff members have just chosen to do this business. However, we don't really see much information here on why the decision was made to become a worker cooperative and how, if you didn't know what one was, how that would actually impact their service. How does that make the workers and the people that are part of this organization feel, and why that is better for the employees or the members, and why it's better than if you've got a chain bike shop. And that wasn't a terrible pun. If there was a bike shop chain down the road, why this organization would be a better example, a better one to work to shop with. And we'll see again a little bit later on some examples of how different cooperatives have met that difficult challenge, because it's a complex thing to get across to somebody that doesn't already know how that works. Lastly, what I would say as well is that there could be more done here, I think, to showcase the great work that Boxdog are doing to generate a network. If we go to the About page here, and Rob will talk a little bit more about how that improves SEO, we can see that Boxdog are doing some fantastic charitable works. They're working with other cooperatives, and that is at the heart of one of the cooperative principles, Principle 6. But there can be a lot more, I think, that can be done to really celebrate this and more importantly, generate traffic to and from the website here, which helps its search engine rankings. So, Rob, do you think you'd like to mention a little bit more about how building a community can impact a cooperative such as this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I agree with all of the assessment. And just as Tom said earlier, everything that we say is from a place of love and wanting your business to be super successful. So I love the style. I love the minimalist layout. And I enjoy that quite a bit. I agree with Tom on the adventure is just around the corner is a nice headline, but sometimes you want a little bit more as to a lot of outdoor places that are going to be offering me adventure. Why would I choose Boxdog? So there's some of that there. The About page for anyone's website is generally the second most visited page on your site, because people want to know who they're doing business with. They want to know who they are hiring to solve this problem or pain point that they have. And that's what your About page does. The challenge with the About page here is that it's not about you relative to the customer. So the About page is never about you. It's always about the customer, but it's you relative to them. And so the little snippet here where we talk about we're a worker-owned and cooperative, and we want people to enjoy writing. Those are all the cooperative thing is different than others. That is true, and we can touch on that in a moment. But ultimately, I would expect anyone who starts a shop like this to be interested in providing the products that you do. What I really want to know is if I was in the shop and I walked up to one of you and said, why did you guys start this? You would not say what's on this page. You would give me a really warm, engaging story. It wouldn't necessarily be super long, but it would be a story as to who talked to who first, sitting around a table at this place, having a drink of this thing, and we saw this need that was not being served in the market, and so we decided we're going to do it, and we're going to do it differently. We're going to do it together as a cooperative instead of this whole other way. The answer to that question is what should be on the about page, because that builds connection. Telling me that the bunch of folks are hanging out and you saw this need and you saw that this problem wasn't there, and so you decided that you're going to solve it, and then you're going to do it as equal partners in a cooperative, that now gets me emotionally invested in your business. And now I'm looking for a reason to work with you. And that's where you want people to be looking for a reason to work with you. And every cooperative has this built-in value story that they just have to share. On Shark Tank, you see businesses bending over backwards to give. You buy this, we'll give that. If you subscribe to this, we'll send this over there. Like they're doing everything they can to layer on some type of a social give back to it, which is great. The cooperative model, though, comes with community built into it, and you have to lean into that. I think Anna, what is Anna's last name? I think it's Aguilar, who teaches at the Mondragon University. One of her favorite things she said that I love is that I don't have to give back if I never take more than my fair share to begin with. And that's the beauty around cooperatives. You never take more than our fair share, so we don't have to worry about doing all of that. We act as a part of the community, not something coming into the community. So I would like to see more of that on the about page. And then what do you do specifically for the community? I see that they are organizing rides. The calendar is a little outdated. So you want to make sure you stay on top of that. You're on the homepage, your number one bike, the Pelican, is currently out of stock. So I appreciate the forthcoming honesty around all of that. But at the end of the day, you got to help me do business with you here, right? So if the Pelican is out of stock, then maybe we move that down on the page, put a big thing on it. It's out of stock. Is out of stock. Just say sold out. Wait list here. Make it something that it's like, oh, I missed the Pelican. Definitely put me on the wait list so I can get it. Turn it from a negative to a positive, and then move something else up top that you have more of, so that there's some way for me to engage. And then the last thing, I'd advise being very careful about the length of your paragraphs. It's not that these are super long, they're not, but on a mobile phone, really anything more than like 140 to 180 characters, it becomes a big block of text on the mobile phone. So it's, I'm looking at a 27-inch monitor here, not a problem for me, right? I checked it on my mobile phone, much longer read, right? So you want to think mobile when you come to the design and how big your paragraphs are, just to make sure that it flows a little easier. So, but the other part of community is also how you're engaging on the social side. So I have not taken a look at the social yet. So I'm going to kick it over to Preeti to see if what are you thinking from a marketing and social side?
I did take a look at their social. At the top left of the page, they have all of their social links in the header, which is great because it's easy access. I did look at each of the channels and notice some had not been updated for a while, a few years. So one thing to look at as a business is if you maybe don't have the time to continue updating, or your customers are no longer on a certain social channel, maybe it's time to pull it off of the website, because their most active channel is Instagram. And I see recent posts and recent content and engagement on Instagram, but Twitter, which is now X, it hasn't been updated in a few years. So I think that just goes for all businesses to reevaluate and just take it off of the website if you no longer have time to update, or you don't want to be on a platform or a channel any longer. What is interesting, though, looking at their Instagram, is they have quite a bit of content of customers coming into the store, and images from the community. And there was one nice image of like a bike with the wheels that were bent. And I think they really are showing how the breadth of their offering. So the fact that they can fix bikes, or work within the community to help others. So I'd say, looking at their social, they've been doing a really good job on their Instagram to engage with the community and to show the various offerings that they have. So I would continue with that. And then for others, would suggest just reevaluate what platforms you want to be on. And if it's only one, if it's only two, just stick with that and remove the rest from your website, so people don't see old or outdated content.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. So, yeah, with time is marching really quickly today. So I'm going to move straight on to some other examples of case studies, and we can see how different organizations are meeting these challenges. This is another one that we found really interesting, that Maureen also drew our attention to. And this is the Clean Car Wash Worker Center. And this really is a masterclass of a website in putting your social mission at the heart of what you do, your proposition. And by that, I mean they have a straightforward service. They are developing and training workers within the car wash industry. But as we scroll down there on the homepage, we have, in a bold and short statement, this is the mission of the organization. So almost as soon as you land on their website, they're telling you exactly how their organization is working to improve the lives of workers in their area. And their mission is here laid out on their homepage. You have options to click on here below and to discover more about their mission and their history. And more importantly, as we scroll further down, we see that they are very open about what it is that they're actually doing. They're helping workers learn skills to further careers and gain better pay. And as we said before, short, punchy headlines like this can really help in getting your message across extremely quickly. As you can see, they do a lot of that here. I heard from Co-ops UK yesterday, which is the apex body here in the United Kingdom, where I'm based. And they were saying that the ethical nature of work and the mission of the workplace that they work for is steadily becoming more important as a factor, particularly among young employees. And the youth in particular, when looking for jobs, will value that alongside security and advancement and compensation opportunities. And it's becoming a key attribute when we talk about battling the mental health crisis that is also disproportionately in many places affecting young people and young workers in the post-pandemic world. So having this up front and center, it not only will help people make that decision as to why they want to engage with your organization, but will also assist in drawing employees and future prospects that want to work and be part of your sector to engage with your organization as well. So there are a lot of other benefits to having this. Something I'd also like to point out is that they have a link tree. Let me just get this up here. So this is a link tree, and this is a way that they have chosen to be able to showcase their network and provide links to their social media, ways of contacting them, and also aligned businesses and aligned work that is being done. Maybe Preeti, you could just describe a little bit of the benefits of having a link tree and maybe a social media manager for a small cooperative, particularly to be able to, on a tight resource schedule, manage a social media campaign.
Absolutely. It's just building on Linktree. The benefit of having a Linktree is being able to utilize uh, sending people to different areas and important campaigns that are happening and important parts of your site. Usually on social media, and the website is, Tom has mentioned, Rob has mentioned, people just have a few seconds. They look, they click on something, but here, by seeing that you have different options, there's an important initiative around how California can lead. There's so many areas you can send people, so it's very focused. And in the world of social media, there's just so many things that people can click on. So having this for the follower and the community gives them an opportunity to go exactly where you want them to, and follow what initiative you want them to. And then on the business side, you can actually then track to see who's clicking on what, and that can help inform future links and where you're sending people in the future. Because if they're, say, clicking more on the Spanish version than the English version, then maybe that's an indicator to create more content around that. Or if they're clicking on one campaign versus another, that's another reason to click into that. And then just having focus on social is really important. If you're able to have someone part-time, full-time, have a team of people who've taken a few hours every month or every week to work on social, is going to help grow the business and help connect you to your community. Because otherwise, people visit a website and there's not enough information. It's like a sales page. But through social, you have the ability to engage and connect and have conversations with your customers and with your community to better find out, what do they need? How can you help them? How can you support them? But it's a two-way conversation. So think of it as really and putting your resources into an opportunity to gain knowledge and to gain insight, and to be able to have a really good two-way relationship with your customer. So it's not just pushing out information and pushing out images and videos. It's really about engaging and having a meaningful relationship with your customers, your community.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a great thing that I've seen a lot of organizations start to use now, is to bring together, particularly when you're dealing with a lot of different platforms. It can get very confusing out there, and it's getting even more cluttered as well. So let's move on to our next case study. This is Garrity Tools, and this is a fantastic website and a great example of leading foremost with your business proposition, and then using short statements to advertise what you do first, and then going into why your business makes you better than the competition when someone's shopping around for a service. And first of all, you start off as soon as you land on their website. Here we've got some great media content. There's fantastic video. I could watch this all day, and I'm not into sort of clay shaping, but I love that video. But if we scroll down through the web page here, you'll notice something very interesting. And that is the fact that they use almost no text on their homepage. They're very image driven. And this, as we go down the page, they're using simple headlines, and they're letting the images and the great photography work of their website to do the speaking for them. Is a very efficient way of getting this across to somebody about what you're about. Is creating this really, and I mean, they've got a great holiday uh, sort of theme that has just kicked in now. And you can see here again, almost no text. We're now nearly down to the bottom of the homepage, and they've just let really good quality photography lead how they communicate what they do. And this ends with the first bit of actual text on the homepage, which is that Garrity Tools is a worker-owned cooperative. And that invites you. You've been entertained and drawn in by the great images of their products, and now they invite you to learn more about them. And this takes you through to their about page. As Rob said, this is extremely important, and they've got a statement here about how they transition to a worker cooperative model. But something else that's really interesting, and this goes back to something I mentioned in the first one, is under their About section, they've got a part which actually explains what it means to be worker owned and how they're controlled. It talks about them being a values driven business. And also, they've even got a small section here about their cooperative structure. So they're being very transparent and very upfront about how their business impacts their workers and why they've chosen to be this business model, which is a very compelling argument. And also the democracy here as well comes in as a feature. Um, this is backed up by some top quality content marketing. By content marketing, again, this relates to what Preeti was talking about. Um, Content marketing is an example of how to use multiple platforms and educational material to drive your product or your service. Garrity maintain a body of YouTube content, as we said before. Um, so people that are searching for instructional videos will find the video, will learn, and then want to use the assets or the tools that they've seen in the video. So this is using content to drive your business. This isn't for everybody because it can be quite resource heavy and it can be a big investment if you want to keep this going. But there are some hacks available to do this cheaply and to do it easily. And with AI tools and other content creators, this is becoming more and more of an option for lower resourced businesses. It's a very effective technique and one that we're seeing a common trend now in a lot of businesses putting huge resources and time into developing their content marketing. It could be very easy if you were a bike cooperative and you wanted to just put a GoPro on and cycle around some good trails near your business, get that up online, invite people to do the same thing. That's content marketing. You're demonstrating your product in the wild, and you're doing it cost effectively as well. Um, so I'll because of the time running on, I'll skip on to the next examples as well, and then we'll have some more time for some feedback. This example is bioclassicCleaning.coop. And I wanted to draw your attention to this site, not only because they've got a great .coop domain name, which they make great use of, but they do it a little bit differently. They've got a different approach. They've got a very uncluttered homepage. This is very simple, very straightforward. And they strike a good balance. And this is the tension I talked about between your services, your businesses, and your social media, as well as your proposition. And they've led very much with their one statement line here, very clearly saying this is why you should do business with them. They're a cleaning cooperative, but why should you use them? They're an organization of women who strive to provide a high quality cleaning service. So they're really saying up front and center, this is why you should choose them over the competition. And even this is important because even if you are not the cheapest option in your area for your service or product, if you're not the most convenient option, in a world where ethics and mission is becoming increasingly an economic driver, then we can use easy to digest statements such as these to really advertise our cooperative difference. And we can clearly see with the rise of the B Corp certification, And you can research what B Corp means and the debate on B Corps and the logo that can come with being an ethical business. Um, then we can actually see the amount of resources and time people are putting into headlining the fact that they are values-driven organization. And I would suggest as a great exercise is to try and distill your cooperative difference down to one line, to one slogan, and then place that somewhere visible if on your web page. So to really bring it down and to get to the heart of your business in one line. It's a difficult exercise, but it's an interesting one to follow. And then by placing that somewhere alongside your services, you're then balancing that tension between your cooperative difference and actually giving people enough information to be able to choose your service as well. I would like to, let me just see if I can I go across here to Lanzig Bike Cooperative. This is another bike co-op. I chose these ones as an example because I wanted to talk a little bit about the domain name, but also we see here they've got their mission proposition is right here on the homepage. As soon as you land, what we do is their mission statement. Their co-op empowers their community through bike education access. They provide a welcoming space for taking transportation into our own hands. This is a brilliant example of how you can understand entire company's ethos and what they do in a simple statement. And they use lanzigbike.coop, which is a fantastic domain name because it tells you three things about the organization before you've even arrived on their website. It tells you where they are. They're in Lanzig. It tells you what they do. They do bikes. And the fact that they're a cooperative. That's three bits of info that you just wouldn't get if your web domain was an acronym or sort of a non-specific title along with a .com or a .country code. So if people are seeing this in a link somewhere, if they're seeing it in a search result, then this is going to be much more likely to direct people onto the web page. And these guys really do use their homepage for a lot of heavy lifting. You can see how, unlike the sort of lower impact and cleaner example before, they use a lot of information here. They check out the Facebook group. They've got an advertisement. Again, the idea behind their cooperative here is outlined to provide a space for anybody to get into maintaining their own bikes. And the benefit of having this all on their homepage is, like Rob said, a lot of people will be using their mobile phones, scrolling one-handed, maybe while they're eating breakfast at the same time. There's a statistic that 50% of the global web traffic is now through mobile phone and smartphone devices. So we really need to put time when we're thinking about our digital impact into how those multiple platforms will appear using your website. And often Wix and other web developers, if you're choosing to do your website yourself, will have a feature that allows you to see how your website appears on both phones and desktops. So you can choose between them. So it's really worth taking that time to invest into how it's coming across on a mobile device. And I'd like to go just to my last case study here now, which is a really great example of promoting your cooperative nature foremost. And this is Rooted Carrot Co-op Market. I love this website. They have a great name and a complimentary web domain as well for a cooperative market, rootedcarrot.coop. Powerful and bright design that really catches the eye. And this organization is working to set up a new cooperative market. And they're in a critical stage. This is a difficult stage. They're trying to gather enough momentum, and I believe they do now have enough momentum and members to realize their objective of opening a new co-op food market. And what's interesting about Rooted Carrot is they're really leaning into their cooperative nature as a first step in helping people to decide if they want to be part of what they're doing. And they're putting their cooperative principles here on the first page. As we scroll down, you're seeing exactly why food cooperatives are better and different than regular grocery stores. They're setting that out here as a call to action, and are very open about the fact that they're guided by 7 cooperative principles. So they're actually using their platform to educate the general public on the benefits of the model and the feel-good aspects. So this will keep people coming back, and it will really help create those advocates. If we remember the Harvard Business Study I mentioned at the start, those advocates for the businesses that are twice as valuable to those overpassing trade or unconnected users, because they're connecting emotionally with what the website is doing here as well. And lastly, they're also creating that backlink to other websites. This is a YouTube video here from, I believe it's their Apex National Co-op Grocers. So they're showing their community around them. They're linking with other parts of the community, which is really important. It helps to generate that legitimacy of a website that improves your position in search engines, and it also showcases your viability to other cooperative users and other organizations. So that's a really effective and simple way to develop the community around your website online. So let me just go back to the slide deck, because I think we're going to move on a little bit more. I think we're running a little short on time. We've got a lot to go through, so I'll be very quick at some of the extra points here that I wanted to make. An important statistic that I've found is that studies have shown that were conducted by an organization called Verifying, that 84% of US customers will believe a business with a good website is more credible than one that just has a simple, say, social media page or something like that. And that's really shows how much a good digital presence can benefit an organization in the eyes of the people that are using it. And a .coop domain, for example, here is a great way to influence your search engine rankings. It's not an easy question to answer how search engine optimization works, because the search engines themselves are a bit protective about their algorithms, and an algorithm is the technology which is how they work, how they create the lists that makes them work. But there are some things you can do by creating memorable keywords and by using no dates. Then you can really help improve your chances that these crawlers, which are automated systems going out and searching for websites, will find your organization and categorize it correctly, which will improve its chances of appearing in those search engines as well. Was there anything else you wanted to maybe add into that particular part there, Rob, about making your website more visible?
I think when it comes to on the SEO side, that's what we're learning through how AI is going to work. Your ability to create content is important, right? So I don't advocate just creating a bunch of stuff for the sake of creating a bunch of stuff, but you want to add value, and there are lots of opportunities to add value that a lot of folks don't think about. Like, for example, with every one of these shops, anytime someone comes in and asks a question as to how do I do this, how do I fix this, how do I do that, every single one of those questions from one of your customers is a bit of content you can create and put out, because you have real world proof that a customer has this question, this pain point, this concern, which means that there's probably someone else who also has that question or pain point or concern. And once you put that out there with a detailed, effective answer, the crawlers on the web will pick that up. And when people put that question in, which they often do, they'll just go right into Google and ask a long form question, or they go to Reddit or something like that. Your answer will surface as one of the top answers. And even if it's an AI powered search engine, they like the new version of Google does, it'll provide 3 or 4 boxes from different sites, and you just want to be one of those boxes. If you've got one of the great answers, you'll be there, right? So your customers will give you plenty of opportunity to create content. They're going to tee it up. You just need to capture the question and then go back later and refine the answer and put it online.
That's great. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, and I think that's a really important point to make as well about content and creating content for its own sake, because we often see people rushing to develop content, and what's important now is that we've got the tools and the AI and ever advancing sort of plug in and play systems, which are going to make the chatter and the noise and the development of content much more easy and much more prolific. So competing for attention has just got a lot more crowded, and I think it's going to get ever more extreme as time goes on, particularly when we start to see AI automating these processes and being able to generate content that's relatable. So it's really important to be effective in what you're doing, and to focus on sort of your core business, your core proposition and benefits, and what makes you different over the temptation there is to use content creators now to develop a bunch of stuff and throw it out there. So I think, yeah, that's a very good point there, Rob. So lastly, I'd just like to point out here on this point that it's more important than ever for cooperatives to remain visible and to be easy to find, to double down and be distinct by using their clear and efficient branding to cut through this mass of information that people will have to wade through now. And all of the domain names here that you can see are sort of a good example of that, because they're sort of highlighting activities and sectors, and they give you the opportunity to really shout about what it is that you do right from the get-go. And I'd like to make a point that Maureen drew my attention to, which I didn't actually know, but this is a good point to make. That when you register a domain name, you can do it with the letter Enya. If I haven't pronounced that correctly, I apologize. It's actually in the orange bar at the bottom. And this domain name with that special character in will not work with Google Analytics. So in order to use Google Analytics to track your website and the people landing on your website with a domain name like this, then you will need to convert it into Unicode format to include in Google Analytics. And there is examples of how to do that online, but that's a really good, important point to make. And I thank you, Maureen, for bringing that to our attention. So I'd like to just take this moment. I think we've got about 20 minutes remaining, and we'd like to leave some time for some questions as well. I'm sure we've created a huge number of questions with some of the topics that we've discussed today. But I would like to take this moment to allow Rob and Preeti to talk about what they're doing at Small World and what they're offering as a resource for the Federation. And I will go now to their webpage. Just to bring this up, to let them chat through a little bit about what they can, how we can take this relationship and the discussion points we've talked to today onwards.
Absolutely. So we are, as we both said several times, many times, very extremely committed to making sure that small businesses have everything they need to be successful. We just, the day before yesterday, we did a similar hot takes webinar. That's where we call it fix my site and socials, where we take a look at a website and their social content fresh. We don't look at it ahead of time. We just take a look at it fresh and give on the fly feedback on things that could be improved, things that look great, maybe lean into this, maybe pull away from that, maybe add it. So things like that. Sorry, interpreters, I know that went a little fast there, sorry. So we do that on a regular basis, and we've started to now offer that as a dedicated service for folks as well. So if you scroll back up, Tom, there's a section there called right there. And our did you attend our webinar with the dot co-op? So you just go to our this site there, smallworld.coop, click that little button there that says you did, and it will eventually take you to a page where we lay out the three things that we have to offer for you. Scroll down a little bit for me there. There you go. So first of all, we have the services that we offer, and as part of our cooperative partner program, we have those available at a discount. We are also offering a free SEO and accessibility report for your co-op's website. So accessibility is so under federal law, every website must be ADA compliant. Now, following the law is not just the reason to do it. First of all, it's the right thing to do to make your website accessible to everyone of varying abilities. The being not violating the law is the other thing you don't want to do. The other thing I want you to avoid is that there are law firms whose whole focus right now is around small and medium-sized businesses that are in violation of the law. And then they will hit you with a settlement offer, and that could be anywhere from, I've heard settlements from $10,000 to $20,000. But our settlement offer is not much of a settlement for me. That's kind of a business ender for me. So you want to make sure that you're compliant, and so we'll give you a report on that. The other thing we're offering is our time. So we bundle our time together. We will focus on your business, your website, your social, give you a discount on that time, and it will walk through everything. The best part though about the offer, well, the discount's a pretty good discount too, but is that we're building in an accessibility accountability call at the end. So we don't allow to use all the time up front. We hold off a chunk so that we can come back later to make sure that you follow through on the things that you committed to do, because we want to make sure that you're successful, but we fully understand that this may not be your primary thing, your primary job. And so there's a difference between helping you do something versus dumping a bunch of information, walking away and hoping for the best. That rarely works. And then finally is we're spinning up a newsletter called Generation Co-op, where we want to tell the stories around cooperatives from a business perspective. So think about it as a fast company, but for the cooperative movement is what we're aiming for there. So if any of that sounds great to you, and I hope it does, there are links on the page. Fill out this form, check the little box there to give me permission to reach out to you, and then I will do just that. And then once we get to the QA, I've got a bunch of thoughts and ideas around the bike stuff that when we get there.
Fantastic. So thank you so much, Rob. That's really, really cool. And I'd like to just take 1 or 2 minutes now just to talk about one last project that we have at DotCoop coming up very soon before we open for questions. And this is about the Cooperative World Map. And this is a project which has grown out of a mapping partnership between Digital Commons Cooperative and ourselves, DotCooperation. And we're using a large array of external partners to contribute to a data picture of the cooperative economy on a global scale. And US Worker are actually contributing as well to some of its publicly available data to help us showcase the cooperative economy in the United States. And the question comes up time and time again, where is the data? What do we know about global cooperatives? How can we promote them? And more importantly, how can we build services that benefit them? And how can cooperatives find each other easily at the local level and work together to build on their Principle 6, which is part of the Cooperative Principles, or P6 for short. And this is a program that is developed in partnership between us over the last few years. And there's a lot of text here to digest on this webpage. But essentially, in summary, this is a project built on open source technology that is connecting data resources worldwide. and to create a refreshed and clean data set, which is a home of reliable data on the co-op ecosystem that will continue to grow and develop and will be a resource to build projects at the heart of Principle 6. So apps such as shopping, trade and services, communication and networking platforms, or even opportunities for cooperatives to have focused recruitment, consultancy and research, or even to develop interesting AI software and other things that are trained on cooperative specific models. These are all opportunities that come with this project. And something that I've added in now since Maureen and I were discussing it, a really interesting branch of the cooperative world map is potentially a new way to measure the success of cooperatives, not just by business structure or by their financial success, which is traditionally the way the businesses are ranked, but through their interconnectivity. How much engagement with other cooperatives are they generating? How are they developing their networks and assisting other cooperatives? Is this a new measurement that we can use when we think that the data service that we have, the world map, is going to be a tool that will enable that on a global level? So I'd like to just draw attention to people that this will go live on the 25th of November 2024 at the ICA Congress in New Delhi, which is going to launch International Year of Cooperatives next year. At worldmap.coop, you'll be able to find a lot out there. And you can get more information at the identity.coop website, which has a cooperative world map section. So this is a very exciting program and will hopefully be a great tool in the hands of cooperatives at all levels, but specifically some great projects that will enable small co-ops, worker co-ops, and others to connect with each other and be more resilient and more successful. So thank you very much. I think we're running into question time, so I'll hand back. Shall I hand back now to open the floor?
Sure, you can stop screen sharing for the moment as well.
Okay. Has that
And if
stopped?
not yet. Um, Meanwhile, if anyone has a question, thank you. I'm taking it as a sign that you were focused on the content, that the chat was relatively quiet, but now's your chance. If you do have a question about the offer Rob made, the analysis Preeti brought, the points that Tom referenced, you can ask us by raising your little Simpsons Zoom hand, or putting your question in the chat. And actually, while we wait for you to gather your thoughts, Tom, if you could screen share that upcoming event slide, I'll just quickly walk through other areas of learning the Federation is putting on. We have a worker co-op policy pulse, which is I believe it's a monthly meeting we do to keep people informed of what's happening in the world of policy, and very important for all established co-ops on this call to know. We'll be discussing the Corporate Transparency Act, a new piece of legislation here in the United States that all existing businesses are required to submit a report by January 1st, 2025 to FinCEN, a new agency. So if you haven't heard of the Corporate Transparency Act or the CTA, definitely register to get your questions answered and check our website for a blog post going into more detail. We also have union co-op office hours coming up if you're interested in the intersections between the labor movement through unions and organized labor, and the co-op movement as another way of organizing labor. That's a great space that we have been bringing together labor leaders and co-ops whose workforce is unionized. I will say that meeting is only in English. We have a meeting coming up that's only in Spanish, which is the meeting of the Movement of Immigrants Leading Co-ops. It's a member council of the Federation, and I believe in that upcoming meeting, though, we'll also be discussing the impacts of the Corporate Transparency Act on immigrant-led co-ops. And then the last thing is if you are here because we put a line in the promo for this that said this is a great webinar, if you are recently exiting incubation or having worked with a developer, and you're one of those developers that has helped co-ops form, but you held predominantly the responsibility for their marketing, and you want to learn how to better build in marketing skills into your academy so that when the co-ops leave, they're able to sustain their social media and their website, potentially even considering your nonprofit or developer structure funding the creation of websites, so that when they do fly the nest, they're leaving with strong tools. Please come to the Co-op Academy's peer network meeting. It's a great place for developers to discuss how to address the power dynamic between developers and co-ops, and improve the resources we share and make sure that the co-ops that we're forming in our ecosystem, we're forming responsibly. So with that, I see there's two questions or 2 points in the chat. I'll read one out loud and then I'll leave it to the presenters to answer. And the other is an update from Raquel with the link to our Corporate Transparency Act office hours. So I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. It's either Gerald or Jarrell. If it's another pronunciation, please come off mute and let us know. Asks, are you the ones redesigning the website, or do you have someone else do it? So if Tom, Rob, Preeti, you could answer what happens once you give advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to answer that. So it's a combination of both. When Small World does a website design or redesign, I'm usually the one who you interact with, because I want to make sure I fully understand the feeling that you're going for, your go-to-market strategy, what some of those challenges are. Go-to-market strategies is part of my expertise. So I want to make sure I understand that. And then depending upon the range of the project, whether it's a simple website redesign, a brand new design, does it include a logo, that will determine who I turn to within my network. So it'll be another independent professional who I've worked with before, and then I'll find the best match to make sure that they can deliver the aesthetic that we've agreed on.
Yeah, I think from DotCoop's perspective, we don't work with the website design in particular. But if you are an organization that's leaving incubation and you would like further guidance on how to set up the digital side of your tools, so it could be your email providers, your hosting, and other technical aspects to your website, then you can please do get in touch with me, because we can offer suggestions on where you can find those assets and who might be a good regional solution for your needs in terms of the tech space. So yeah.
Thank you.
With our final few minutes, I don't see other questions, so I was wondering if there was anything our trio of presenters wanted to reflect back or comment on that you heard from each other.
I think just from one last point that I'd like to make is I think this is really a great start point. We covered a lot of topics and a lot of technical and non-technical detail. It needed to be at a very high level because of our time constraint. But I see this really as the first step to a relationship with the worker cooperative community, and hopefully will be a sort of seed point that anybody can come back to. Me in particular, I'm sure the others would also reflect the same point. They can come back and begin the conversation on how to develop now and how to find the help and the resources that the worker cooperatives need in order to maximize their potential. And also, if anybody has any feedback on the cooperative world map and how they feel it might be a benefit to them, if they have ideas on what you'd like to see to solve your problems or to provide solutions, and do also let me know. We are taking all the feedback we can on this project. So get in touch.
And I'll say that we talked a little bit about before today some of the websites, and I don't want to forget to mention this because it kind of ties it all together. I've done a lot of workshops over the last year around P6, and I think it's the superpower of cooperatives that are not leveraged nearly enough. The good folks at the Design Collective are P6ing me and the DM right now, but working together to to do websites. That's fantastic. Yes, let's definitely do that. Um, but when we talked about the box dog and the bike, and then we have the Lansing, like one of the things that box dog mentioned was that there was a decline in their business as not as many people are buying bikes. I know you're not alone in that. So I would say if you take a look at in Small World and Dot Co-op, we've already talked about this ahead of time. We are willing to play a role and help make this happen. But what if we took a look at the world map and we found other cooperative shops that are on the map, and let's connect them under the bikes.coop name. Let's form a group where you can share best practices, where you can share ideas, where you can share ways of engaging with the community. Can you work with a worker cooperative that creates picnic baskets and do organized family rides, right? So you get the food from the food cooperative, everybody gets together on the bikes, and you're going to do this trail together. Like there are ways that you can create bespoke community events that are built around your cooperative and the cooperatives around you that other businesses are just not going to be able to do. They're just not thinking along those lines. So if that's something that's you know of interest, by all means, we are very interested in the idea of going beyond just giving digital advice and helping to empower and play an active role in cooperatives taking these next steps to refine their go-to-market strategies in a way that competitive businesses can't even wrap their brains around. Like it's just not in their DNA to work together. We have to leverage that to our benefit.
And I would just add from a social media side is that people care about what you're doing and how you're connecting with other cooperatives and share your journey. This is important. And people are interested in knowing about what's happening. So think of it from that aspect is you're creating content to share, but you're sharing with people who care about what's happening. So it's important to just start if you haven't been focused on social media.
Thank you so much to our panel of presenters. If you could stop screen sharing, I want to just have everyone see, even if your cameras are off, that we had at the height, I believe, 38 people here. And I think this is marketing for the potential for cooperation amongst co-ops and potentially in the follow-up email, we'll share the recording and the slides, but we're also hoping that you continue to be in connection through our member spaces and our peer networks, that you reach out to Small World Communication and .coop, because the more that we align our funds, however small or vast they may be, depending on the scale of your business, and our ideas, just the more that comes out of it. I'm so grateful that you all came. In the effort of not going super far over time, I'm going to suggest that we wrap. But I did want to read out loud from the chat because I won't have time to translate. Thank you, Obvious Agency, for saying this was super helpful. Thank you, Rio, for thanking the USFWC team. From PV Squared Solar, Brittany says, we've had a wonderful experience visiting other co-ops during co-op month to lift our voices together and making social media and cross share our visits together. It's a win-win-win. So please, Design Action Collective, thank you for 20 years of making our movement beautiful. And Cam, thank you for calling a Zoom room inspiring. It's thankfully not feeling like an escape room, it's feeling like community. So please fill out evaluations if you can, so we can continue to bring you good webinars funded by .coop and brought to you from the Co-op Clinic. And we appreciate your time. And we'll send the evaluation link in the email as well.